Hi, I'm Sam.
And I'm Sam.
And we're the Sams.
We are the Sams. And tonight, folks, we want to welcome you to an episode of Sam's Talk. And we have very special guests with us tonight. But first, as always, Sam's Talk is brought to you by Sam's Community TV, creating content to establish a community through genuine relationship building. And speaking of genuine relationships, we are honored to introduce our first guests for the program of 2024, Mr. and Mrs. Stefan and Crystal Matthews from the Bright Side. And so, folks, how you guys doing tonight?
We're good. How are you?
Bro, we are well. I am well. You know what? Let me speak for myself. How are you doing tonight?
Yes, I am well. Right? It is good. It is great to see y'all and connect.
Same here.
Thank y'all for having me.
We need to do more of that in 2024. I feel like 2023 flew by and it was just like, who'd I see? But my kids.
Right. Okay. Right. I feel you on that one.
That's funny because I feel like, Samantha, speaking of kids, probably gives us a segue into sort of the topic at mind that brought us all together tonight. So,
yes.
Would you like to do the honors?
So, yes. So I have been talking since I became a mom, excuse me. Let's just say before I was a mother, I had no idea of this word or this phrase of this thing called mom guilt. But I find myself more and more talking to different moms, it doesn't matter, their background, their nationality, their culture, it across the board, different price points, whatever. It doesn't matter. I find across the board, mom guilt is prevalent. It's real. It's a thing, right? And I was talking to a friend a couple weeks ago, and I'm just like, I need to talk about this. So I reached out to Crystal. I know you're not shy. And you have your show, and it's just like you're a mother as well.
Yeah.
And I felt like, okay, let's have this conversation. But being that, we both have husbands, is there a thing of dad guilt? Is that even a thing?
Right.
But I want to, so I am a mother of two. I have a daughter who is 6 and a son that is 3. And Crystal, your children.
Yes, I am also a mother of 2. I have 2 girls. One is 1 and one is 3.
Okay. Yes. And it's like, as even talking to parents, I feel like we're in the thick of it.
That toddler life is rough.
But yes. And they act like they're going to win, but they not. So I wanted to offer the definition of mom guilt.
Okay.
A name given to feelings of guilt and shame some people feel when they don't live up to their own or others' expectations in their role as a parent. Right?
That's
and I find there are books on it. You see memes, you see poster boards, and it's just like the mom truth, the guilt of having a messy house, feeding the kids the same thing 3-4 nights in a row, overreacting or yelling, hollering, or even now, self-care. The big thing is self-care. You need to take care of yourself. No one can pour from an empty cup. And having the guilt of trying to take care of yourself or needing that break, but maybe feeling guilty of not wanting to be with your kids right now, and taking that time. So that's the definition. That's the overall broad brush of different descriptions of different mom guilt, because there's you could go pages and pages, I feel and it's different for each mom.
Right.
I just wanted to have this conversation. And my first question to you, Crystal, is what does mom guilt look like for you?
So I can definitely relate to every point that you made, just about. For myself, I feel like it's been different phases for me. So initially when you have like a newborn, or at least with my newborns, my mom guilt was being hard on myself about feeling like I'm not at a milestone that I need to be at, like with my kid in the like the nursing phase. Like that was a struggle for me in the very beginning. I don't want to, give too much information, but like the whole latching
Right.
thing was rough. So I was like really, really hard on myself, feeling like I can't do this right. So I feel like that's what like mom guilt looked like for me, like feeling like I'm failing in this area. I should be able to do this. Why isn't it happening? And that was for both of my kids when they were at that phase. Eventually, we got it together.
Mhm.
But in the very beginning, when your hormones are all like out of whack and stuff like that, it was rough.
And to on that point, and it's just like, fellas, you're here, and ones that will tune in, it's just like, just listen. I know there are things like just listen, hear what we go through, and it's okay. You can put it in basketball terms later if you like, but it's just like,
right. You might not be able to relate, but just know.
Right. But like with how you brought up latching, right? Mm-hmm. I even found that in the hospital, other women can put guilt onto you, because I remember with Savannah, she wasn't latching right away.
Yeah.
And they make you, well, you don't want to give your child formula. Like, you got to do this. You got to get it.
Yeah,
you got to. And they're putting all this pressure on you. You, again, full of hormones. You just made a human. Okay.
Right.
And they came out, your body is trashed. Okay. You like, who knows when the last time you ate a meal. Okay. But it's just like, there are nurses that are great. And then there are other people where it's just like, because I had one where she's just like, well, you got to do this. Your baby's going to starve. Well, no, she's not, because you'll give her formula. Like, we're not going there.
Right. We're not going to let the baby starve.
Right. It's just like, okay, I'm trying. Like, this is a new thing.
But there's like that pressure. And I feel like some people, they're not aware of like how they can come off, because it's kind of like their own like personal bias, or just like how they raise their kids. They don't realize, like, some people you can't help, like if it's not working. It's like everybody's body isn't the same. Children do not react the same. Like, we're all different. So some people kind of push their own beliefs or ideas of what they think just based on their own experiences, thinking that everybody else has to go through it on you, not realizing that is also putting like, it makes you more self-conscious about your situation. And it's not really helping a woman who definitely is going through like a lot of hormonal things and is already kind of like feeling a little bit depressed because life is changing drastically. It's tough. But
I feel like the first time I could say I really felt the mom guilt, it wasn't that, just because when you brought it up, it made me think, oh, I remember that pressure. But the first time I could say I really like sat and was like, man, this is a new feeling, is when Savannah took her first steps and I was at work. And it was like, and I grew up with a single mother, like she worked, whatever. And, you miss, and even being a working mom, it's like, I knew I wouldn't catch everything. Yeah. But just for the simple fact, like, Sam was there and he showed me
to catch those moments.
It's like, it's on video, but it's like,
you wasn't there.
I wasn't there. And she's my first. Like, it was just like, I sat at my desk and I shed a tear, and I'm not a crier, but it was like, okay, man, like, what is this feeling? Like, what is happening? And then again, now 6 years in this mom thing, it comes at so many different points where it's just like, it could be a nice day, but you're exhausted from work, trying to clean up, doing whatever, the million things your brain and everything you have to do. But they want to go outside, or, oh, I should have took them to the park. But it's just like, oh, let's put on a movie. Later,
feeling like you should be doing more.
Right. Like, feeling like, man, I should have took him out. Or, man, we watched 2 movies in a row.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and feeling bad, but it's crazy because I saw a thing on Instagram, and it was just like, it was kind of like a I want to say simulation, but like acting, I guess, like, whatever you want to call it. But it was a mom and her daughter, and she gave her just chicken nuggets. And then the mom, and you can hear her talking to herself, and she's like, oh, like, I just gave her the same thing I just gave her yesterday. Then the mom is like tired, so she's like, oh, let's put a movie on. And they're laying together, but she just put a movie on. But then on the daughter's side, they replay it, and like the daughter was like, oh, mommy gave me my favorite thing to eat. Oh, I just I love cuddling with mommy, and she let me watch. We're watching a movie. It's so fun. Like, where it's like, I know we put all these added pressures on us. Yeah. And I don't like, thinking about it is like, okay, is it making us better? Like, to make us want to do better? But I just know, like, just talking to different moms, it seems a lot of people have it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like we have to give ourselves grace. I think that's what it is at the end of the day. Like, we're a lot harder on ourselves because we think that there's like a certain standard we have to live up to. And to some degree, it is. Like, some of the things I feel like we do worry ourselves about, it's valid reasoning. It's just that from the kids' perspective, they don't really care. You know what I mean? Yeah. So in that example that you gave, like, they were excited about these chicken nuggets, but like, we're thinking like, oh, this is like processed food. We're giving it to them every day. Right. Should we be giving our kids chicken nuggets every day? No. Will they die? No. They're gonna be okay. Like, sometimes, especially like for me, I have a very picky eater, so that's something that's always crossing my mind. Like, man, she's getting the same pasta every day.
Oh, pasta rice, plain noodles. All that is with the plain noodles.
Yeah, right. Maybe a little butter, maybe a little olive oil, but that's it. Yeah. So it's like we do have to show ourselves grace. Like, we're doing the best that we can. Right. At the end of the day.
So I had to, before this, because I was just like also thinking, is this our generation, right? Is this because like self-care, nobody was talking about that back in the day. Nobody was talking about mental wellness and all that. Like, all that is like new words, like, things that is just like, okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. So I reached out to my mother, and I'm like, Mom, have you experience, like, did this happen back in the day, like mom guilt? And then she was like, well, what are you talking about? So I gave her the definition, and she was like, I had to write it down word for word. She said, oh, y'all have a name for it now. She's like, of course. She's like, yes. I mean, she's like, with raising you, there are things, she's like, not as much like the stuff y'all go through now. She's like, because back then, if you think, like, when I was raising you, we didn't have a microwave until like you were a teenager, kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
And not that I'm that old, but I think my
did y'all have color TV back then?
I changed it with the dial. But like, she was just like, and her as a grandmother, it was interesting having this conversation, because she was like, I remember cooking home cooked meals. Like, she was a working mother, but she's like, I feel like back then we had more time. She's like, she's retired and she's a grandmother, and she's like, I feel like I have no time now. And I find myself like giving the kids microwave food. Like, I know, like, but it is like, how bad are you going to feel? Like, how much guilt are you going to put on yourself when it's just like, it is what it is. They like it. They ate it, or like she said, the feeling where it's just like, it's not enough hours in a day. You're doing this, you're doing that, but you want that, you need that break, that time either. And you shouldn't, she's like, you shouldn't feel bad needing that time to just recharge yourself. Like, it's so you don't scream, 11 hours of the day, more than
kind of thing. Right.
But it was just interesting to hear, like, it goes back. Like, my mom is 65, so it goes back. She had it. They just didn't have a name for it.
Yeah, they didn't label it.
And as she's saying, like, our generation and younger are just putting so much more on ourselves. When she's like, kids don't need that. Like, they don't need to go to this amusement park or this jump bounce or this blah, blah, blah. Like, don't put all that added stress on you.
Right.
Do you think it matters age-wise? Like, do you think that, because I say y'all were similar in that y'all had kids in your 30s. Do you think that a mom that's like 20 with her first, or even like a teen parent where it's like, I gotta go to, like, it's mandatory that I go to school by law, so therefore me missing all these hours in the day with the kid is like, I can't do nothing about that. Do you think they have, or do you think they would have the same issues or same issue, but it just looks a little different?
So I've talked to single mothers that have multiple kids or one kid. I've talked to people that are married. And different age ranges. People, like some parents that moms that have had their kids when they were teens, they all have it. But I just feel like the degree of it sometimes is varied, because it's like a mom knows she doesn't have discretionary funds. She feels that guilt where it's like, I can't do this extra stuff that for my kid. It's just they're getting taken care of, like their bare necessities, but it's like, I can't do that extra. Or it comes to where they are a single mom, they have the guilt of the father not being around. So then that guilt they have, they're doing too much. Oh, they're getting the number one toy that came out. They're getting the Jordan. They're overcompensating because of the guilt they feel because they made this choice to have this child and the father's not there. Like, so it comes in all different kind of ways, and manifests itself. So I feel like it doesn't matter your age, your gender, your creed. Like, it just, you got it.
We all deal with it.
Right. Because it's like me. I mean, I would love, I feel like it's an oxymoron, because I would love to be with my kids all the time, but I do need a break. But it's just like, I don't want to miss the moments, like
those milestones.
Right.
With the first steps and all that good stuff.
Right. And I feel like with my son, it was during COVID. So it was just like everything. I experienced everything with him. And it's just like, now they're in school. So it's like, I want to go to the field trip. One, because I don't trust people. I want to just see where y'all going. It's like, I want to know, like, for them to be there. Because I remember growing up with my mom being a single mother. It was just like, there were times she couldn't come to the school play or the recital or this or that. But like, I know, like, she made a point to like show, like, I know I couldn't be there for that, but here, like, let me do this kind of thing. So, I feel like, Steph, it happens across the board. Doesn't matter the age. What I wanted to ask you, Crystal, what piece of advice would you offer to other mothers? And I know you said earlier about grace, and that could be just it. Or if you had anything else you wanted to offer.
I would say definitely show yourself grace. Don't compare where you are with like other people. Because I think that's something else that you get into your head about. I should be doing things this way, or I should be at this point, my child should be at this point. Like, everyone's on their own journey.
Right.
And as long as you're doing the best that you can, then, you'll get to where you need to go. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Right. That's a good one. Yeah. That's really good. And the only thing I would add to that is just like, if you just love up on your kids, like they are not going to giving them chicken nuggets or them eating plain noodles.
Right.
They don't really know what's going on. They're
It's not
like, my
put them in
parents love
therapy.
me. Yeah.
It's not going to put them in therapy.
Yeah.
Like, again, screen time and this and that. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm an 80s baby. I remember watching a lot of TV. So, and I survived. So it's just like everything in moderation, even with the guilt you put on yourself. Because it's like, we have our own things. But it's just like, if you just really love up on your kids, that's what they're going to remember.
They're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's what they're going to remember.
Be okay.
And it's just, again, you got to keep saying that, like, to yourself. Because, again, you tell people self-care, they say it, and then they never do it. But you just have to, you just gotta be mindful.
Different for some people. Like, self-care can't be for everybody, like going to the spa, you know. So you got to do what you can to kind of get that peace of mind.
Yes, my self-care, lock it. I need a lock in the bathroom. I haven't gone to the bathroom by myself in 6 years. Okay. Call the people. Okay. Why can Daddy go to the bathroom by himself? I don't know. But it's like, as soon as I gotta go, Mommy, I can't find. I need this. Look. All right.
Get somebody else to do it.
Right. So with all that, before we, is there a thing? So I looked it up and I was like, is there such thing as dad guilt? Okay. And it's like, Steph, have y'all experienced dad guilt? Now, the definition was sort of the same. It says, dads also experience feelings of guilt, not living up to expectations. They might feel torn about the need to provide and the desire to spend quality time with their kids. See, I call hogwash on dad guilt because
is this thing on? Hello, testing.
Yeah.
So you're answering for both, huh?
Right. She said, I have this question to ask, but I have to give you
right. I call hogwash on that definition, but I am asking the men. I could be wrong.
You know what? I'm actually curious, Samantha. Why do you call hogwash on the definition? Let's start there.
Because I feel like a real man, you want to be a provider, right? Why you do a deep sigh? Okay, you want that's in you. That's innately in you to provide, right?
I think that a real man
man.
Okay,
provider.
Okay, fine. My 2 cents. Okay, my opinion. But it's like innately in you, you want to provide. Correct? You work, you provide, and I don't think a man feels guilty about that.
About his inability to?
No. That is what you're doing. You're providing, you're working. So it's like, I don't think the definition suggests that a dad's feeling guilty for that, because you're missing quality time with your kids.
Okay, I missed what you were saying. Wait, wait. Okay. So let's do it this way.
Okay.
Why don't you give us an opportunity to respond to dad guilt?
Yeah, I'm giving you.
Right, but you're phrasing it right. So it's like, mom guilt. What do you think about it? Then it's like dad guilt, and then you're putting this lens on it. So,
what it should be?
It's like just provision.
So let's just put it out there and see what dad guilt is, because I think any father who cannot spend time with their child because of the requirement to provide, I don't understand why there wouldn't be a feeling there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I was curious as to, what part of it seemed unrealistic or out of the ordinary in terms of a feeling of a father. Think about it. You mentioned the fact that I was able to see Savannah's first steps.
Correct.
Right? And I shared it with you because I knew what kind of moment that was.
Right.
So why would I innately not have an interest or desire in those kinds of experiences as well?
Would you have been as upset if it was flipped?
Well, why don't you try to provide a response to my question first, just to determine, because I think part of it is like the fact that you said it was hogwash suggests that like it's fascinating, and I'm glad that we're speaking with married couples about this dynamic, right? Because I think there's a perception of men that women have that takes away the human component of men. It's like we are stripped in a way because you see us only respond to certain things, and it's not because we don't see it and internally have a response, but it's what we display is what we are graded on, right? But we take everything in the same way everyone takes things in. But we are part of an upbringing of a man. Like, you are indoctrinated with ideas in terms of like what management looks like, right? Like, we have to be able to manage ourselves a certain kind of way to be a productive male.
Yeah.
Like, it's reinforced at every level. And part of that self-management also includes controlling reactions to certain things that happen. Like, our ability to control our response almost is a measure of a man. Like, if he can stay cool in tough conditions, it's not because he's not feeling, it's not because there's no pressure that he's experiencing.
It's not
his
showing
ability to manage it under duress, right? And so I think because we are conditioned to form ourselves that way, it seems to me that the perception from women is that it's absent of us, right? And so it's like the idea that a man would not feel guilt about not being able to spend time with his children due to work commitments to provide for his children is like part of the
brainwashing.
No, not brainwashing. It's not a brainwashing. Like, you can't see it. You don't. It's like, you know what you see. So if you don't see men responding to certain things a kind of way, the assumption is like we don't care about it.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're not seeing the reaction.
Yeah.
But we've been trained to manage certain reactions. But it doesn't mean we don't care about it. And or the way we do display it is in such a controlled way that it doesn't indicate to you the same either level of importance or urgency or whatever the case may be. Yeah. Generally speaking, like, we are conditioned to be more measured,
right?
Just as a way of life, right? And I think that I thought it was interesting how quickly you were able to sort of dismiss the idea that that's a real thing because of the fact that it's also in us to provide. Like, both things can be true at the same time. Listen, you know my interest in terms of, what I would like to do in terms of provision for the family. But why would that mean that I'm also signing up for simultaneously not spending time with my family? Why would I not want, in an ideal world, both? So just because it is wired in us that we know our obligation to provision, to me, doesn't automatically mean it's at the sacrifice of time with children. Now, if it's part of the deal, we accept that too.
Right.
We accept that too if it's part of the deal. But to suggest that there's no feeling behind that's just not true. But
so to ask the question,
and then I'll
Sam and Steph, have you experienced dad guilt?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Did you shake your head no? After all of that, after this whole speech, you shake your head no. Get out of here.
Dad guilt, what's that?
Okay, so Steph, when did you first have it?
There, I have a dream. What? I felt that. Like, I was about to shed a tear. Like, yeah.
That's how he gets you with the words, the soliloquy,
right?
So I think I would say I think even the definition, to Sam's point, the definition for dad guilt is crazy that it just goes straight into provision, when I think that the definition for mom guilt probably covers everyone across all the board. Are you meeting an expectation that you have for yourself?
Yeah.
So even from that definition, I thought about it, and I'm like, on a daily basis, the expectation that I have for myself is, for me, when it comes to discipline, I'm kind of like a very one way, because that's how like my mom and my dad raised me. Like my mom was like my mom is a G, so she is all for like is everything's hands on. We ain't talking through nothing after. We talk after the fact, or maybe we talk to figure out something. So for me, I'll feel bad when it's like, yo, I want it, like, or if I react fast and I'm like, I should not have did that. Like that was not one, because I'm like, I need to allow. I know in myself how that made me process emotions. And as an adult, I'm like, I gotta let her feel some stuff. Like she gotta be able to just cry and it'd be cool. Whereas for us growing up, it's like you get something to cry about, and it's like, well, let me just shut up because I don't want to get like beat again. So for me, that's where I'll catch it like today. But even I'll say it first came about, I think, when I was in school, and it's like the program I was in, I'd be out the house until
grad school.
Yeah, when I was in grad school, it was like I would be out the house. I wouldn't be coming home till like 11 p.m. So if Maddie was even awake, I don't really got time to even talk to you, because it's like I still gotta hurry up, get upstairs. I got homework to do, and I have to sleep. One, like medically, is like I got epilepsy. Part of it is if you don't sleep, you bound to like get yourself in a situation. And the other side of it is when I wake up tomorrow and I'm back at work, I'm 30 feet in the air. So I really can't risk something happening to me. I can't risk being tired. Yeah. So it's like, all right, well, I got to figure out a time where we're going to like, dang, all right, I could have wrote this paper a little better, but I got to like chill for a second and just to like spend time, because this is going to be the only time that like, and I mean, I guess COVID helped also for sure, because everybody's home, everybody's in the house. So that helped with some of that, because it's like, all right, when I take a break, I can just walk downstairs and just like talk to her. But for me, the guilt would be like, yo, like, I'm not, I know me not really seeing Crystal can understand and rationalize.
Because I'm an adult.
I know what he's doing. Yeah. Whereas like, yo, like, I ain't seen Maddie since yesterday morning. Like, this feels crazy to me.
Yeah.
So for, like I said, for me, it's like the expectation of, and I think part of it was like growing up in single parent households, whether you were one or the other, my expectation is I need to see my kids every day, unless I so choose not to do that because I'm on vacation. That's it. Like if I so choose not to see you, that's one thing, but not like I can't go see you today type of situation. So it's like for me, I'm like, if I'm home and around, like we gotta interact in some capacity. It don't gotta be that we cuddling all day. I just might need to wake up, say good morning, and then I could be away from you the rest of the day. And we gotta have like something almost to like acknowledge with me and them, where it's like we are always coming back to each other at the end of the day, beginning of the day, whatever. So that was like my thing. But again, that goes back to like an expectation that I set on myself, because that's something I didn't have growing up. Yeah. So it's like I live with my mom. It's like I'm only going to see my dad when I go there on a weekend that I'm not doing something, or the summers, and again, times when I'm not doing something.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't. So because I didn't have I can see my dad whenever I want. It's like I set the expectation of my kids of like, again, barring something crazy, you can see your dad whenever you want. So when I don't get that, I'm like, dang, like I could have did better. Or if they like go out or something like early in the morning on like a Saturday, you'd be like, dang, I could have woke up to like say hi or something like something. So I get it occasionally. Now I say I probably don't feel it to the level where I'm like, this is burdening me. It'd be like, damn, all right, keep it moving. Like, and I think that goes back to Sam's point of how you express it, where it's like you feel it, but I'm like, life goes on. So like, let's keep it moving. So it ain't like I'm gonna just
life is hard and then you die
on it.
Yeah, it's just like I can't dwell on that.
Whole day.
I think about it. It's like, oh dang, all right, I'll keep that in mind for next time. And like,
right,
just
on to the next.
like you said, now I got to manage the rest of my day and my time accordingly. So
Yeah, and I do experience dad guilt, and the way for me, my experience of dad guilt is when I lose sight of the fact that my children are a certain age and they're processing the world. And sometimes like I interpret their behaviors as if they were someone older than they were. And there's like a different level of intentionality behind it. And then you sort of sit back and realize like part of that was just exploration. You know what I mean? It's not like they weren't really trying me. They were just trying. Like they didn't know they were trying me at the time.
Yeah.
They were trying. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
So it's like there are moments where I sit back and thought about it and reflect and realize what actually occurred, because I don't want them to ever feel that they can't explore around me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you know, growing up the way I grew up, like there was a certain expectation that didn't offer a lot of space for self-exploration, quite frankly. You know what I'm saying? So if I did do that, it was on my own time. You know what I mean? And that was part of the beginning of compartmentalizing my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I live my life in different compartments, and a lot of times they never mixed. You know what I'm saying? I think part of it is not feeling that I can fully express here. So I would find those spaces where I feel like there was real self-expression. And so I always want them to be able to have that feeling around me. And even if it's wrong, that I can have a measured response to it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to encourage or reinforce anything that's destructive, but I still want them, but there's still probably a teachable moment in it, as opposed to immediate penalty. You know, and so that is where, for me, there's at times a level of dad guilt. But we sort of really hit this topic long and hard. I think it's pretty cool. I did want to ask a couple of questions, if you don't mind, about just more relationships, and like this was dope. And before I do that, though, you know, I wanted to give you guys, because I kind of skipped past it, an opportunity to, you know, introduce more of yourself and the bright side. You know, let us know what the bright side is, the channel.
Okay, we'll go ahead, sir. I'll let you talk.
Go ahead, sir. I'm not a host also. But yeah, so we have our own podcast called The Bright Side, where we talk about all things marriage and family, just
marriage, family, relationships, dating, all of the above.
All of all of the things that like ripple out from, I guess it started as like a marriage thing, but then it's like you realize how far the ripples go out from marriage, where it's like dating and even I guess like kind of like mental health stuff, where it's like, or how you were raised, like how those things play into when you finally get to like that marriage part. So that's why I say just all things.
So it's really, let me make sure I'm capturing this. It's like you're talking about all the sort of like influences of life as you are moving towards a union with somebody else, and like what that means. Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect. You hit the nail on the head. Add that to the YouTube bio.
Hey, anytime, you know.
But so you can find us on YouTube. We also on Instagram. Check us out.
Apple Podcast.
No doubt.
The bright side.
The bright side. All right, so I have some, I think, pretty cool questions, you know, that I think, you know, since we're two married couples up here, you know, let's put ourselves on the hot seat, right? Okay. So we're answering these questions as of January. Are we still in January? This is the last day, right? January 2020.
Last day. 2 hours left.
2 hours left. So here we go. First question. Has dating changed for you pre-marriage versus post-marriage?
1000%.
No, the question is, okay.
Yeah. I got it.
So you're saying
has dating changed?
Has it changed for you before you're married versus after being married?
Oh yeah.
How has it changed?
Okay, let me ask you this. What did you think I was asking? What do you think the question was the first time?
I thought you were asking like how was dating pre-marriage and then how is it now?
Okay.
I guess essentially that's kind of what
That
you're
is,
asking.
yeah.
I think you're saying like compared to before you got
Correct.
married. Like, yeah. So okay, I got it.
My fault. My
No,
the way
it's
my brain
all good. It's all
creates
good.
questions. It creates more questions.
Nah, I mean, for us, it's like dating before we married. I was 24.
Yeah.
So and it's like
You didn't have a care in the world. Like,
Yeah.
what else did we have to do? We
Yeah.
could go on dates. We didn't
Okay,
have
so
much
let's start
responsibility.
here.
We were young.
How old were you all when you were married? Just for our audience to know.
25.
we got
We
married
were
at 25.
Wow.
And how
Yeah.
long have
You
you
are
been
both
married?
married at 25.
Yeah. Well, he's just a couple months older.
Okay.
Like, he's born at the beginning of the year. I'm born at the end. But yeah, we were 25 at the time. So our story is really funny. We met in college. We dated.
We did not date.
mm,
We-
we-
This is the internet. It stays.
we talked, quote, but it wasn't like a relationship until after we graduated. So we remained friends like for years, but when we actually became official, we were in a relationship for only like
a
year actually. But we had known each other for like 6 or
We'd
7
known
years
each other
up to that point.
since we were like 18.
So we were cool.
Got it.
But
yeah, we only officially dated for like a year.
yeah. And
before we got engaged. Yeah.
And then so you got married at 25. And how long have you been married?
It'll be 12 years this
12
year.
years this year.
Wow.
Yeah, November.
Congratulations.
Time flies crazy. Yeah.
Oh,
So
congrats.
y'all in this. Do you
Yeah,
even
it is,
remember
for real. Okay,
pre-marriage?
once you hit that decade, it's like
Yeah.
that's
25. Oh, God. Like,
Yeah, we were
it's crazy.
so
Like, I had a marriage book and it was like a timeline. And I was like, oh, at 24, 25, I want to be married, blah, blah, blah. 25, 25, I was.
out partying, living life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
about to say, but I think for me, that's why I was so anxious to get out of it, is because I was in it. Like I was wilding. I was wilding. And part of the reason why we didn't date was like Crystal wanted to be in a serious
I
relationship.
wanted to settle down
And I
like
was
since
like-
college, but he was like,
I was just like,
no, I'm trying to have fun.
The streets is calling me. Like you coming into like I guess like manhood, where it's like your confidence is at like a level it's never been before.
Mm.
And at the time, it was like women that were like 3-4 years older than me were like, I guess, give me like a little bit of play, and I'm like, oh no. Like, relationship ain't happening. Like I'd like you a lot, but I'd be doing in my mind, I'm like, I'm doing myself a disservice not to take advantage of like this now, like this power
young.
I had. Like I'm
of
like, oh, I'm coming into being a man. I got to go be that. So
sow your oats.
yeah, I
right.
was tripping. So that's why, like, when it like, and the thing was, like, I think I knew for all that time is like, yeah, like when I'm done, I'll just come back to Crystal. Like,
we just like assumed that like my life is gonna be a whole. Isn't that crazy? Like,
I mean,
why would you think that? I mean, it worked out eventually.
I'm about to say today it doesn't sound so crazy because you are sitting here
today.
So,
that's wild to think. Like,
so you expected her to wait for you, or
not
no?
even
I don't
wait.
think he really did, but
not expect to wait, but it just my mind.
I ain't wait. I was living my life.
Like I knew that it was like I'd always be able to come back. And I mean, to some extent, I feel like I not achieved it, because when I was like ready to come back, like Crystal was talking to somebody else, and I was just like, man, like I'm that nigga. Like I'd
Right.
like who?
Yeah,
and I just, like things I actually
All right.
And things I said
I'm
to her
home.
was like,
Right.
and this,
I was like, the audacity. Okay.
but and again, my mind was just like,
You didn't even know we did anything wrong.
yeah. I was like, he probably is a great guy, but he is not me.
He's probably a great guy.
Like, do what you got it. Like,
Yeah.
Keith Henning. What's that?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
but it's like, go ahead,
No.
tie up all those loose ends and
Let's make it happen.
bring it on back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So post marriage, then, since you didn't date that much, like post marriage, like how's the dating life and how's it been in this 12 years?
I would say that we could have done better. So like the early years of our marriage, I feel like it was a little bit of a struggle just because I feel like we were both so young. Like we loved each other, but we didn't necessarily prepare ourselves, I think, as well as we should have to kind of deal with those like conflicts that you have in a marriage. And when you're so young, like you really have to be mature and not be petty. And it's like, I think we allowed those moments to kind of get us in like a cycle where it's like we were not having those we had great times, but we were not like pouring into that area in our relationship that we should have to kind of really nurture like that romantic piece as well as we should have back then. So we've gotten better with it. And even now we could do that. Like kids make it really, really tough. But like once we kind of got over that hump, it's different because it's like you're more intentional about it. It's like, you know, you have to make time to do this, like going to the movies, going to dinner. Or even just doing, because sometimes we just like to be inside and play video games together. So it's like just it looks different depending on like what you can do, how much time we have. You just sometimes got to get creative. But those are like factors that we didn't have to deal with like when we were, you know, prior to being married anyway. Gotcha. So it's definitely changed. I think it's better now because it's like we like want to do it because it's like we have to do it because you want to keep this thing running smooth, right?
And I feel like you need the time to, you know, again, here, because it's interesting. We had a talk, I don't know, somewhere else, but it was just like taking that date time to talk to each other and really ask each other, how are you? Like, what's going on in your life, basically? Because it's like you have the everyday in the house, like what the kids doing, dinner, blah, 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 like work stuff. But it's just like to really like, how are you as a person? Like, to really get to know each other even more. Like, again, like we're going into our 8th year, like we're going to be 8 years married. It's just like still trying to get to know you. Like, because we change, we evolve, like, you know, hopefully as people. And, but I would say pre-dating, like, is different, like different level. There are things I miss with pre-marriage dating with Sam, because it's just like, I don't know, like, I don't know if it was more energy or like, you know, more discretionary money, but it was just like,
I was frivolous with my spending.
That's like you trying to win her over. That's a good point. It's like you putting more into it because it's like, I gotta bag her. Yeah.
Right. Like it was just like, I'm going to wine and dine you. And it was just like dancing. Like, I feel like we still go out and dance, but like, you know, now I'm getting sleepy. I'm like, oh, you know, I got all those clothes over. Like, it's just like my brain, I find sometimes it's just like, pause it, because you're here to do this. And this is your time, not to worry about all the, like the time you're out doing this. But I mean, dating now, like even when we got married, we made it intentional. Like, we have to go once a month, a date night. And we were really good up until like, you know, even like after Savannah was born, it was just like, we still kept it up. We kept it up. We kept it up. And then life be lifing. And we did it for a long time. And it was just like, okay, how do we get ourselves back on this bike wagon, whatever you want to call it? And just really making this time, because it's like, you know, you make time for everything else. It's like, we have to make this time for each other, because life is getting, more stuff is getting piled on. Another kid is getting piled on, like, you know, so it's just like, and these added stressors where it's just like, okay, we really have to do this. We have to talk to each other. We have to love up on each other. Like, so, and take that kind of time. But pre-marriage, it was like, he was like balling.
Discretionary money. I gotta use that.
That's spousal guilt.
Yo.
So my quick response to this, because I do want to get another question in, I'll just simply say that premarital dating, as you were saying, you know, in the courting stage, a guy does, it's like you're peacocking a bit. You know what I'm saying? Like that's that's customary, and that's what happens. You know what I'm saying? And so you play the role, you play the part, you do it to the best of your ability. You do what you think that, will really, catch your eye or interest, etc. You know what I'm saying? To sort of establish, your seriousness in this thing. You know what I mean? I think dating after being married is about, honestly, it's, to me, the value of it, especially if you're intentional, it's about becoming more vulnerable together. Like that, to me, is what allows the depths of relationships. When you are both actively choosing to be more vulnerable around each other. Like that's when it's like, okay, I know I can trust you, and I know you can trust me, and I'm going to protect you at all costs because we are both choosing to go deeper in this thing. You know what I'm saying? So we have like these cards we use when we go on our dates, and we think about the answers and we answer them, as openly and honestly. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to hold back. There's nothing reserved in any response. And a lot of times there aren't things that we are actively thinking about, so even getting to an answer sometimes is a roundabout way. And it's like, hey, journey with me on this roundabout way as I try to get somewhere I've never been before. You know what I mean? And so that, to me, I think is how I experience dating post-marriage. And I think that I feel like it's like, this is what it's all about, because even thinking about what, Steph was saying in terms of just like wilding, like I wasn't really wilding, but I was definitely a person that, I dated people, and so in dating, when I think back on it, it's like, I wish I didn't go on half those dates. Like seriously, because like what value was it to me, honestly?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it really was at times just a throwaway exercise.
Yeah.
Like seriously, it's like there's nothing. I don't think of a lot of dates and like, oh man, I hold on to that part of because of that date. But our dates that we have, like I hold on to those experiences and what I'm learning about you and what we're sharing together. Like there's growth opportunities in those dates. Like those dates are important to the vitality of our marriage. You know what I mean? Right. When I was dating before I made a decision, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not, there's no value for me. It's not valuable. That's the difference. Dating post-marriage for me is valuable. That's, I say, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
See, that's it.
It's
now valuable. Before, it was an exercise. It was something that I had, it was part of the contract.
Yeah.
But it wasn't value to me.
Right.
This is value to me. So like Friday, we're going to like Chestnut Hill. They have like a little gallery type deal. It's like next to all the shops. So we're just going to hang out, look at a little bit of art and, hang out with just, all the shops and the owners and
just looking. He's
just looking.
Got that.
Maybe hit the city a little bit, so
Sam, I know you want to hit that, but I just thought of something. So like pre-marriage, the one thing I would say with dating pre-marriage, and I know people now probably don't, is the talking on the phone for hours. Like falling asleep on the phone. Like that is like that was golden, man.
I don't think I've never like fall that I did in high school.
Yes.
I feel like in college talking on the phone kind of felt like that, like talking for hours. But
it was
in our like actual dating phase, I don't think I never like fallen asleep on the phone. Like I can see a person at that point.
Because I was saying, by the time, I think part of it is also in that beginning part is like, because y'all don't live together or see each other every day, kind of like whenever you want.
Yeah.
You like, I guess going back to the word that you value the time that you do have, knowing that like, man, I gotta wake up, I gotta go back home. Like those like those kind of things matter. So, and I think part of it for us is like, by that time you had your own apartment. It was like, all right, I could just come over and be over here. Like,
right.
And I feel like if the younger generation that's watching this video, if they look at it, because it's like Sam and I first started dating when emojis came out. Like,
oh my dating? They are 12 years in.
I know, but it's just like I'm talking about younger folks, like hearing, talking on the phone, because now everything is FaceTime.
Oh, gotcha.
That's
If
true.
somebody
yeah.
FaceTime me,
Texting.
Right.
right? It's just like they
I
not.
had a little flip phone. We weren't doing no FaceTime and none of that.
Nah, I'm about to say, there was no FaceTime.
Yeah,
Text.
Real
good old
communication.
days, the good days.
Yeah,
Dang.
yeah.
This one I told you guys about, and so we're gonna go there because I'm just really curious as to your response. And I think it's just a kind of pretty cool, open, honest conversation. It's just us.
Okay. Just us. No one else.
Yeah. So curious. How do you actually respond if this is something you guys have ever been presented with?
Okay.
As a married couple, do you feel that your single friends
Mm.
look at you as couples goals? And if yes, what does that mean to you? And maybe not even single friends, but just like, have you heard that term ascribed to you all before? So before I get people, upset with me, I'll go ahead and modify that question there. But just as a married couple, have you ever heard that or feel that people are looking and holding you as the goal as a married couple?
Yeah.
I don't know now so much. But.
Yeah, not so much now, but I feel like, so out of our group of friends, we were the first to get married. So like we mentioned that we got married at 25.
We were the first.
Or one of the first.
Yeah.
But so like at least our like close friends, none of them were married yet. So immediately it was kind of like us being pushed to the forefront of like, couple goals, because if they're dating someone, it's like, I want to get married, right?
Yeah.
So that put a lot of pressure. Well, I mean, speaking for myself, that put a lot of pressure on me because like at the time, it's like you care about what your family and friends think, right? So if things aren't even going the way that like you think they should, or you're having problems, it's like, I don't even feel like I can be vulnerable with anybody about those issues because it's like you have this standard that they're setting, like, oh, you're married, your life should be blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't want to disappoint these people that think so much of like what, my relationship should be. So it's like this unnecessary burden that we put on people. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes, right? Mm-hmm. Like what you see is not always people's reality. What you get. So I really don't like that term. I'm cool with someone saying like they're inspired by like my journey or the fact that like, we're committed and the longevity and, we're, doing things to like, have our relationship thrive. Like that's something that's cool. But the whole idea of couple goals, everyone has their own journey. We're all in different places. No relationship is the same. It's like, true. That's also what leads to people comparing that comparison. And what do they say about comparison? It's a
comparison.
Yeah. It's never good. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. I guess to that point, it was like being the first, it was partially that. I don't think I felt as much pressure as Crystal might have, because especially during the times when we were not seeing eye to eye, if someone says like, oh, like you guys are goals, and in my mind, I'd be like, I mean, like, I guess, but in my mind, I'm like, I have no problem burning the whole thing down. Like I like I said, especially when we were not seeing eye to eye, I was of a mindset of like, people be like, divorce is not an option. I'd be like, man, all right, like if that's what you think, cool.
Yeah, actually, I saw I watched the episode of one of your shows.
Yeah.
I think you gave that response. Do you mind sharing that with our community here? Like because when you first started talking, I was like, wait, what? But then when you got to the end, I was like, hey man,
I get it.
I understand what you're saying there, brother.
Yeah. So so for me, I was, and I think partially I will admit today that at 25, like my stubbornness fueled a lot of that mentality. Yeah. So for me, and again, I think also coming from like a church background where I think you see people that might just stay married because they're married. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, I'm not doing that. So my stubbornness when we first got married was very much like a divorce is 100% an option. And it started as it's just that because I don't want you to believe that, like I believe that it's not an option. Let's like it started there. But as I matured, and it was like as we grow together, and the value of being married to Crystal starts like doubling, tripling, quadrupling, and all those things, it's like it started to become real where it's like, yes, divorce is an option, but you have to not choose it. And it's like, for me, it is important to acknowledge it's an option. And the example I give is, if you are an alcoholic and alcohol is not an option, like literally not an option, you being sober is not an accomplishment. You did not accomplish anything. You were sober by happenstance because of the environment you're in. That is why you're sober, not because, oh, you just were working on your marriage and all that. And it's like, no.
Or working on your sobriety.
Yeah, you worked on sobriety. It's like, no, you just are.
It wasn't a choice.
Yeah, you didn't choose it.
Yeah.
It was chosen for you. So for me, like I said, and once I got older, it was like, no, like it is an option, but I am choosing not to do that because that is what I want. And it's the same as like, I'm choosing not to drink because I want to be sober, not because I'm being forced to. It's like, no, divorce, like I said, is an option, but
you're doing the
I'm
work.
choosing to do the work on it. I'm choosing to have the hard conversations. I'm choosing to, I guess, going and doing date nights, and I'm choosing to being more vulnerable and things of that nature. And I think as I get older, and I think that it came to me when you went like this. It was like, as we go deeper, it's like when a tree is growing, the tree gets stronger, the deeper and deeper the roots go. And there is fruit on the outside, but the important part is this part. It's the roots that go down. So it's like, as we are going down, and it's the little things that even like
bear the fruit.
Yeah, it's like there is no fruit without this part.
Right.
And it's like the fruit is, and if it does bear fruit, it's not gonna last long if like the tree doesn't have the proper roots. So for us, it's even like the little things of, I think we talked about it, y'all, before, but it was like, I'm not like a crier. I've never cried in front of Crystal until this year. And it was like
after 12 years.
It was like, I mean, and it wasn't like I just had like a sad, like it was a very like sad moment. One of my aunts passed away, and I like for the first couple days of that, I guess it was sad, but it was like one of those things of the first couple days of me going through that. It was tough for me to like cry around anyone. And so like you be in the hospital and I'm like walking away and hiding in janitor closets to cry real quick and then coming back. And I remember, and it was like one of my cousins caught me like the first time. And I was like, oh man, like this feels strange that someone knows that I cry. So by the time we like fast forward and the day I finally like cry in front of Crystal, in my mind, I'm like, yo, like this was like a moment. Like this is a sad moment, but in my mind, I'm like, this is something else that like I've actually opened myself to doing with her. It is not something I feel like I have to hide. I mean, granted, like it's no shame in it, but for me, I'm like, it's just not what I do. And so like when it finally happened, I'm like, yo, like this is, and I don't even think I told you, but I'm like, dang, like I'm glad I did it. I'm glad we got to have that together, because it was just like another thing of like, all right, this is something that's going to make us stronger. It'll open up the door so that if I need to do it again in the future, it ain't like I'm second guessing myself before it happens, or I'm withholding something so that I don't do it. But it's like, all right, that's something we got to build on. And like I said, share together so that going forward is like, dang, the next time it won't be like a battle. It'll just be something that happens.
Yeah.
Because we worked on it and we worked to get to that point. And so, yeah.
Steph, question just to ask, because again, we're raising a son. Were you told when you were younger not to cry? Is that why like you always like held it in internally? Because like me, I'm not a man, but I am not a crier. But the way I was conditioned and raised as with my single mother, like I never cried. And if I had to cry, I would not cry in front of anybody. Like, so I just wonder, like, you know, is this a guy thing? Or were you just told not to cry?
I think it's partially that, like, and even part of it, I think, was like enemy before I even consciously started not crying in front of people. Because like I'll hear stories from like my aunts and stuff, and they'd be like, they'll like laugh. They'd be like, "Oh, yeah, it's like you get a beating, and it's like you just wouldn't cry." They'd be like, "I'm hurt for sure, but I'm not. I ain't about to let you see me like that." But I also think part of it was like my mom was not a crier, my dad was not a crier. No one in my family was like a crier.
Oh,
and like so for myself, it was like I've seen my mom cry like literally one time ever, and that was at her dad's funeral. So it was one of those things of like
it has to be very like extreme.
Right. And I mean, some people, and I probably was part of the problem, because for me, it's like if I see you crying outside of like, all right, like everybody in the house getting beaten, then it's like, all right, everybody crying, and like that's just something that happens. But if you just crying because your feelings
at that time,
yeah, like if you just crying because your feelings is hurt, then as me being younger, I was probably gonna make fun of you, like, and that's just the way that like most of my family operated. It's like, yo, like, hey, you sad, like, get out of here, like, and you gonna catch jokes. So, and I think because like I was like that, it was like I will never be the person that's catching that joke also. So I think that it was part of like I think, like I said, both sides of my family, nobody really did it. And so, and if they did, I say it was like you said, it's like, all right, we're gonna go into our private quarters, and if that's something you do, then like let it out. But it's not going to be something that you open up and kind of let everyone into it.
Well, I'm glad you had that experience together. Like you shared that with Crystal 12 years in. I think
I was like, it's about time. Dang.
Right.
And I've been waiting.
And this opens you up for your girl dad. And it's like
that might have something to do with it. Like being a father of girls, I feel like that does.
That was a part of it. It was like, but even I think going back to the dad go thing, it was like being a father.
Like really annoying me right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was like being a father of girls. I was like, I have to break down a lot of those walls. Not even about so that it could be like a public thing. It's not like we're gonna be out and I'm just gonna be like a little punk. Like it ain't that. But it's I need for us to have those moments together so that I can like share my emotions with my daughters, so that they don't feel like, so that they can, I guess, so that they feel like they got everything that I could give them. Not like, yo, my dad loved me, provided this and the third, but I never really like knew him as an emotional person. It's like, nah, if anybody can know me like that, like I said, Crystal is gonna be my kids. And even if it stays like with us, but it's like I want them to have like all of that. Because even like, shoot, I was about to say the day or two before Crystal caught me, like Maddie came over and like gave me a hug, and I just broke. I was like, what the heck? I was like, so I'm like trying to like get myself together, but even like with her, she just like, oh, she's like, oh, daddy, you're crying, and just sat there and just let it happen. Like she ain't trying to walk away. Like, oh, what is happening? Like she just sat there. She patted my little head, and I was like, dang, like
it's the kids. I'm telling you, listen. I said, Sam, it's crazy because I was like, I married Sam, and he turned me into a pussy. And I got kids, and now I cry. Like it's the kids that put you over the edge, because there are different emotions or things that come, and it's like I can cry on a commercial now. Like what is what is going on? I'm like, oh, it's the kids. They the ones. They the kryptonite.
I feel like I didn't become a crier until
I put Samantha in touch with her feminine side.
Man. Nah, you were crying. Get out of here.
That hormonal shift does something to you.
But even before kids, you had these moments you cry, and I'd be like, the hell's going on? Like, why? Like, what happened that this is the result of that?
No, I wasn't like a big cry.
Not a big cry, but you would.
I feel like I became more emotional after kids, though.
Oh, yeah, that got crazy.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's like the hormones, something. It's like you don't ever get like right back to where you were.
Yeah.
But
I think it goes back to like the more comfortable you get and all that kind of stuff. Like
then you feel like you feel okay being like, you know,
vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right.
If you can't be vulnerable with your spouse, who can you be vulnerable with?
Right.
Like,
You're fine.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah.
I mean,
I just say no.
other than Jesus.
Right.
No, because like in all actuality, there is an answer to that question.
Like, who else can you be vulnerable with?
It's like if you're like, if you can't be vulnerable to your spouse, who can you be vulnerable to? And I'm
Yeah.
like, in all actuality, there is probably an answer to that question.
Not the right answer.
I'm about to say,
I'm about to say,
yeah, it could be.
Listen, I'm
It's-
talking about the life answer.
Yeah.
The life answer is that someone they're like, I'm not even trying to suggest anything. I'm just saying the life answer. Like, I agree with you being vulnerable with that's part of why it is important.
Yeah.
Because if not, it's not like if not, then you miss out an opportunity to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm
Or
saying?
else.
Yeah.
I'm just
they
not
go-
the person.
yeah,
I'm
right,
just not vulnerable
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
That's
so
just setting yourself up for failure. That's definitely.
yeah, like that's why it's like there is definitely
Yeah.
a levels of intentionality about
Right.
what it is required.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In order to me, to have successful marriage, it's actually interesting. So, you know, when the couples goals component, like so I want to touch on, if you don't mind, the whole your mindset around divorce, right? Like, we still think the other way, like we ain't going nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
leave if you want to.
Right.
I'll be
It's
right
funny.
behind. You know what
I
I'm
said
saying? Like
if it ain't gonna work, I was like, we just living in sleeping in separate rooms. Like, we just
that's the furthest I'm going.
like,
Where's my
but
tape measure?
I'm
You
like,
stay
I'm
over
not packing nothing up. I'm not moving nothing. I'm not like you just here.
But-
Funny.
there.
You're
And
just here.
and I still think, like, even our mindset, it's still for the idea is like the outcome is the same.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the whole
Yeah.
idea is that we stay together, right? Like, so
Right.
even your whole perception of it is still with the understanding of, like, I think of it this way to incentivize me or remind me that, like, without me doing this work,
Yeah.
this could be the result of it.
Yeah.
And for us, it's like, guess we gotta go to work because we ain't
Yeah,
doing that.
right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
Like, at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it's like it's the same kind of situation. It's like either
Yeah.
the fear of, or it's just like, yeah, we keep looking at it, like, you know what I mean? Like, regardless,
Yeah.
it's still
Not the-
it's like our whys might be different.
yeah.
Yeah.
It results in the same actions.
Right.
Yeah. I guess speaking to that, I think a part of it was my confidence, like that, even like to come back and just be like, she'll be there when I get back type of thing.
Mm.
My confidence from even the beginning of our marriage is like, if something's going wrong, I kind of would have like this thought to myself where it's like, I know who I am. And if this falls apart, I'm not going to be a person that just kind of crumbles and it's like, life is over. I'm so embarrassed. It'd be like, I would be embarrassed, but I had the feeling of myself, and honestly, the feeling of like Crystal also, where I'm like, I know who Crystal is.
Right.
And it's like, if we separate, it's like, I'll be salty, but somebody else is going to marry this woman, like, because she's that good of a person.
Aw.
And the mindset I had though was like, inversely, someone will marry me because I'm also that good of a person. And so I think also part of the incentivized work was like having conversations with myself. And I think, I mean, God also kind of checking me also, where it was like, nigga, if you are both this good of people, imagine what would happen if y'all just work together like I intended you to. So it was like, I think part of it,
a good thing.
yeah, it's like you found a good thing, and while you might not see it right now, for sure, faith in God was a big part of like, all right, God, I'll get through this. But a part of it was like, also like, I know that we're good people, and I know that other people would find value in this, and it wouldn't be like I don't think anyone else will love me again, so I have to make this work. Like how some people would be like, all right, man, like, yeah, this
is it for me.
Yeah, this dude is in here beating my face in every day, but who else would love me? Like, so I think having the confidence that this don't got to be the end of that. Like, especially like before we had kids and all those things, it's like we would leave each other and we would just like, it ain't like one of us had just like a bunch of money or something. It's like we're gonna leave, we're gonna sit down for a minute and be like, dang, this sucks. But we both had the tools and skills to be like, you know what, I can build myself back up to be even better maybe than what I was before we met each other, type of thing, where it's like I know we can still grow and become like great people after this. So I think part of like that confidence in, like I said, myself and acknowledging who Crystal was also was like, that was a big part of why I was like, divorce not an option. Like, yes, it is. Like, it's because again, I guess it's like
I mean, it wasn't an option for me. That was just him. Like, for me, I was definitely of the mindset of like, nope, I'm gonna stick it out, because in the beginning years when it was like, I mean, it was tough. It was like the butting of the heads, and it was like having those good moments, but always kind of getting back into like this cycle where it's like things aren't changing.
Can I ask, like, was it simply maturity that allowed you to get through that, or
it was maturity? I think it also, I think what helped was getting some like
seeking wise counsel.
That helped too. Like, I thank God for the people that he put into our lives that really kind of helped us navigate through some of like those dark times.
Yeah.
But yeah, also, I mean, maturity also played a part into it, but like it was several things. Yeah.
The reason I was asking is because, you know, one of the things that I try to, it's weird. I'm in a space now where I don't really offer advice when it comes to relationships anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel the same sort of comfort around those conversations. But I will say that there are certain things that I principally believe that I will sort of offer as a perspective. You know? Because generally speaking, when you start the tit for tat kind of situation, that ping pong ball, like, it's hard to stop playing the game. Because usually what happens is that the speed of the ball gets harder. Like, it goes faster, so you start swinging harder, right? And so it's like, and you really then don't want to be the one who gets hit with it, you know? And that's why I was curious, especially being as young as you were, like, once you guys found yourself in that kind of posture, like, what stopped it? Is it just simply you're just like, we're too old for this? Or, like, to your point, it was counsel, like, you know, there were like, because you all knew that it was happening, you wanted to resolve it, you know what I'm saying? But it's hard to just resolve the game on your own.
Yes.
You need a referee.
And I'd say,
and we don't always have to go through. And I think that's something, like, I feel like relationships that end and they don't even have to. It's because people are too like prideful about seeking help. And we didn't even necessarily like seek the help. It was like people that care about us saw that something wasn't right.
I was about to say,
and they like helped to intervene.
I was about to say, the people around us really like see you, and it's like having people that'll like pull your coattail real quick before it gets to that point. Because I think and I guess for me especially, it was like it came from like people in like the church and the marriage ministry and stuff. Like it came from them. But then it came also just from like the old heads that I have who, and again, I don't often refer to people as like an OG, because it's like, if you're just a person that older than me that hang out, you're not an OG, you just older than me. But the people that I had that was like a real life OG was like, I see where this is, like, I see you slipping a little bit. And before I let you, like, and like, you grown, you can make the mistake if you want, but it was like, let me, like you said, Sam, let me offer this to you before it's too late, because I wish somebody would have offered it to me.
Right.
So I think the people around us was the ultimate like blessing that, again, we kind of didn't even choose it. It's like these people were just around us, and whatever was on them enough was like, let me speak up before it's too late. And I think that, I guess, kind of to your point, where I'm not like a person that's just handing out advice, but if like I love you and I see something, I'm gonna say like, I'm like, you don't like, you might not even listen to me, and I like, that's on you. But I'm like, I gotta at least, I gotta say something. If nothing else, is like, just because I know that might be something I like, God will be like, I told you to say something, you didn't. Like, why not? So, and I don't want to be on that end of like you could have made a difference, and you trying to be, I'm not in it type of thing. It's like you are the reason this didn't make it. So that's I think maturity, but it was also having the people around us that we did, who really, really helped. Because like you said, I mean, when you in that back and forth,
it's like
it's a dangerous game, right?
It's a song that never ends. It just goes, you know what I mean? Like, and that's why for Sam and I know one of the things that, you know, we talk about is like always understanding the vision and like the goal and the objective, like, you know, because this relationship is always a give and take, you know, and I feel like once you start keeping score, you're going to lose the game. You're going to lose the game because that's not what this is. You know what I'm saying? Like there are going to be times when she can just go harder on something than I can, and vice versa. And we don't, like, how many times you go harder this time? You know what I'm saying? Like, you just know that, okay, when rubber meets the road and I need them to step up, they're going to be there for me. You know what I mean? Because I know that when rubber meets the road, they're going to do what they need to do, you know? And I think for me, when I even think about this, you know, the whole concept of relationship goals, and I'm sure it's something that's been, you know, sort of offered our way. My thing is, you don't know how the sausage is made. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I always think it's interesting how people are so willing to adopt perspectives on things, knowing there's so much information they don't have.
But that's the age of like social media, where what you see, it's like people, whatever you put out there, people take it as if like this is like what it is, because it just they glorify what they see on the internet, like.
And you only see what they show you.
You only see what they're showing.
Right. You only see what they show you. So they assume like, oh, I want to be that. But it's like, do you even know what it took to get there? Do you know what happened after that picture was taken? Like, you don't know nothing.
Or even like how people say, you know, Michelle and Obama. Michelle Obama and
Michelle and Obama.
Right. Michelle and Obama. It's past my bedtime, okay? All right. Let's just be clear. But Michelle and Barack, where it's like people are like, but like there are times she don't see her husband. Like there are just you know,
can you imagine being married to the president of the United States?
Right. And it's just like, I need to talk to you right now. And they're like, ma'am, it's a global crisis. I don't think global crisis. Like it's just like there are aspects of people, like, you know, like you said earlier, Crystal, like to aspire to, or, you know, maybe their communication, or this couple, like, you know, how they, you know, maybe travel with each other, or like different pieces, but to want, that again, you don't know. You don't know.
So for me, I think I will say this much though. If there was one thing, you know, people glean from our relationship that I would be comfortable with them taking away, and if they wanted to call it relationship goals or couples goals, you know, whatever, go at it. It's that we are genuine around each other. We're a couple, we're a married couple that exists, and when you meet us, we're not someone else around you than we are with each other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like that much, if that's the nod you want to give me, I'll take that. You know, like that one I'll take, because but we work at that though. You know what I'm saying? Because it's easy to be offended and start closing yourself off. An offense can start the process where you start closing yourself off, and instead of going deeper, you know what I mean? The roots are coming up. You know what I mean? So it requires the daily work. It still requires the daily work of being vulnerable every day.
It sure does.
You know, because, and then once you feel like your spouse isn't vulnerable with you, then you tighten up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you feel it from them, it's like there's a real energy, and it's like you feel like you're not the same page. It's like, because at the end of the day, you want balance. It's like I'm uncomfortable being unbalanced. So if I just have to be then less vulnerable, so we're paired again,
right?
Then I'll be less vulnerable so that we're paired again. But all I'm saying is that, are you sure we're going the right way here? You know what I'm saying? I think we're supposed to be going that way.
Right.
If you're going up, then I'm going up with you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Even though I think we're supposed to be going that way, but okay, you know. right? Like that's I mean, that's the game. That's part of, you know, the daily intentionality of like, I choose you again.
Yeah. Right.
I choose you
Yeah.
again.
Yep.
And that's why I appreciate having like conversations like these, because I think the more that like people kind of kick to the side like that face value type of thing, where it's like us having these conversations is like like it's us being vulnerable, and like we're showing ourselves a little bit, and but I think it's needed so that somebody else would be like, all right, man, like
it's not hard, y'all.
Yeah, it's like if I show you and like kind of give you the full testimony, and you call that like a goals, then I'm like, I'm cool. Like you said, I'm cool with that. I'm cool because all right, you getting the story, and it's like you've been like helling back, and now you get to again, we get to sit here and have the conversation now. Like if you want to call like that, like you said, call that goals, cool, by all means. But I think these conversations are like so needed.
Right.
But I think everyone, or not everyone, but people in general and society kind of rewarding what something looks like versus what its actual components are.
Yeah.
Then
yo, it's so funny you say that. I just saw this thing on Instagram where a bull had a Lamborghini. He's like, Lamborghini, points at the label on the car on the hood, opens it up, and like one of the strips for the light is an Audi product. Right? So a Lamborghini, and he's like, Audi, and he's foreign, right? Then he looks at something else, then now he's in the hood, and there are parts of his car, he's like, Lamborghini, Volkswagen. Like there are parts of his car that are manufactured from a different car manufacturer altogether. You know, so it's like you see a Lamborghini,
but the guts inside is
Volkswagen parts, Audi parts. Like, so what it is and what you're seeing sometimes are not the same. I mean, it's all about illusions. Listen, I could have, you've seen, like I could hold up this, right? And then I could also present it where it's actually just like a picture, and it could have it could appear to have the same dimensions. And if I held it like here, like you wouldn't know if you couldn't see my hands. Like, damn, is that just a photo,
right?
You know, or is it actually? You know what I'm saying? So I'm telling you, man, like perception dictates a lot. And to me, we're in a society where it's the art of illusion.
Yep.
This is David Blaine society.
Seriously.
I want you to see this.
And now with like the AI deep fake component being added to it, it's just like we don't even know what we're watching.
Yeah.
You know, and now we're measuring ourselves up against something that's not even really there.
Yeah.
And actually having internalizing the fact that we're not doing something that's actually not happening.
Yep.
So
and it's a shame. And I feel like that's what everything is.
A whole other. We all going to have to come back because I feel like I'm going to whole. Because I want to have some conversations about like futuristic stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's a whole different time, same space, different time.
Right.
So, you know, I'm learning in our process.
Always welcome back.
That's like,
well, thanks for having us. This is great.
And I'm about to say, we got to get y'all on.
I know we got to get y'all on the show.
Oh, no doubt.
We're going to start filming season 2 soon, so you might get a call.
Ain't no mic. Ain't no
mic. Ain't no mic expected, okay?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Stay ready so you don't got to get ready.
Okay.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Absolute pleasure. I thought that I appreciate your vulnerability tonight, you know, and sharing with us, you know, answering some questions that you didn't know were coming. And I just, you know, I appreciate and really feel that it's this genuine relationship building is what we're all about. That's what Sam's community is all about. Sure. And, you know, sometimes it's like, don't, you know, do as I say, not as I do. Well, we're doing what we're saying, you know, so if as folks, you know, tune in, we talk about it, we walk it. This is what we do. This is what we're about. You know, it's about relationships. That's what life has to offer all of us, you know, and it's a gift. And so we're exploring that one person at a time. You know what I'm saying? So Sam, I guess we can close this thing out tonight, huh?
Yeah, I think this was a great talk. We went all over. I think this was great. So,
and were you able to effectively get the conversation out about mom guilt? Because I know it was something you were carrying for some time.
yes, like and I can't wait to hear like people in the comments and things like that. And you never know, like it may be a different variation of it, like kind of thing. But it was nice to get it out here. This dad guilt. Maybe and like that'll be a big thing. Who knows?
Right.
But I love the conversation. I love it. It was great. Now I just, it's my time for bed.
Yeah, it's about to be February 1st in 5 minutes.
On that note, until next time, folks.
We got an hour.
Yeah.
Stay blessed.
Peace.
See y'all.
Thank you for joining us for another episode. If you enjoyed the content, please make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe today.